I've got 4 reasons for you why 2025 might be the year to make a move if you've been thinking about it but haven't done it yet. Or maybe you made a move and you don't quite love where you're at and you're thinking about moving again. Well, the 2025 predictions have come out from most all of the major economists that look at the housing market and give predictions of what they think is going to go on the market. Now, before I go into the detail of that, this isn't really a housing market update type video. I wanted to share 4 different things that might make it a good year for you if you're thinking about making a move. Now, some fast value for you here at the beginning of the video. If these national averages, and history repeats itself, I should say, with these national averages, what is likely to happen is that Orange County's market will appreciate faster, and history also repeats itself, or it's likely to repeat itself, that if prices were to decline, which one of the, 20 listed on a chart that we'll throw up on the screen here, actually said that there's going to be like minus 1% appreciation. But anyway, prices appreciate faster in Southern California, specifically in Orange County, and they depreciate when prices do go down. They go down slower in Orange County than the rest of the country. That's kind of the fast value if you only have 30 seconds to watch the video. But let's kind of dive in, and without me going into the boring details of these predictions, overall, the economists are predicting, remember, these are nationwide numbers, overall kind of guessing or predicting, I should say, that home values are going to go up somewhere in the ballpark of somewhere thinking 2%, somewhere thinking 8%, and a whole bunch in the middle. Now, mind you, there's other economists that aren't on this chart that I'm looking at that I saw a whole bunch of people share and repost and all that, but it shows all the names you would know. A lot of big banks, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all of them are saying that we're going to have some normal price appreciation. Now, we know that in Southern California, or really nationwide, we expect to see somewhere between an average of 3 to 5% price appreciation every single year, and 2025 is shaping up to be no different than the average. Now, 2024, all things said and done, are going to be right in that same range as well too. Now, let's dive into the 4 things, because there's 2 big changes that I want to cover that are going to make things a little bit different in 25 than we've seen over the last handful of years. Now, the first thing is that more people are going to put their home on the market. Now, the second thing is we're going to finally return, or it looks like we're going to finally return to more of a neutral market, meaning that it's not a heavy seller's market like we've seen over the last 4 years, and it's not going to be a crazy buyer's market like after the 2008 crash where nobody wanted to buy a home, where buyers were just dictating and sellers were trying to give homes away. We're not likely to see either of those. We're likely to see more of a neutral market, thank goodness, because the last couple of years have been so difficult for honestly both buyers and sellers. So I'm going to dive right into the 4 major reasons why 25 might be a good year for you. Now, reason number 1 is that most homeowners need to sell in order to buy. Now, notice I said most homeowners need to sell their current home in order to buy their next property, because most Americans have almost all of their net worth tied up in the equity of their house, and understandably so, especially with the price appreciation that we've had over the last couple of years. So this is going to lead to a lot of people who wanted to move over the last couple of years, but simply haven't either wanted to go through the process or maybe weren't able to. We had a handful of clients that wanted to put their home on the market if they could find the right property, and sometimes they found the right property, but they couldn't even remotely be competitive enough to get their offer accepted, so they never listed their house. So I think we're going to see an unlock of a lot of people that are what we would call bellers, buyers and sellers, and they're going to be doing both buying and selling, which is going to bring way more inventory to the market. So that leads us to reason number 2, which is that homeowners have a tremendous amount of equity. I touched on this a little bit in the last reason, but prices have gone up a lot over the last 4 or 5, frankly, the last 16 years in a row, we've had prices go up, but significantly in the last handful of years, which is when most people have bought over this shorter time period. Or a lot of people have refinanced, and honestly, not a ton of people took out a ton of cash when they did refinance because of the uncertainty that there was during COVID. So homeowners have locked in incredibly low rates overall. There's a tremendous amount of homeowners that have below a 4% interest rate on their home. And I've talked to a lot of people, our team has talked to a lot of people, and this might be you, that feels stuck in their low interest rate. Maybe you're not quite loving the home anymore, but you feel bad getting rid of that 3% rate. Well, let me paint a little bit different picture. There's a ton of people that have a 3% rate, but they've also taken out a home equity line of credit. Debt is at an all-time high across the board everywhere. So there are a lot of people right now that are taking out a cash out, or maybe not cash out refinance, but they're refinancing, getting rid of all their debt and wrapping it into a new mortgage on the home. And they're willing to get rid of that 3% interest rate because the debt on all of these other, the payment rather on all these other debts, it doesn't even make sense to have the low rate. It makes more sense just to refinance. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that is happening. So we are likely to see a lot of people that were married to their rate, but they didn't really love their house and they're refinancing out of that loan anyway. And that's an opportunity for more listings to come to the market. Now let's move on to reason number 3, which is also financing related. Over the last couple of years, a very, very, very popular loan program has been to do what is called a temporary buy down. Now there's two different types, well, there's more than two, but there's two major types of buy downs for the sake of this conversation. The first is a permanent buy down, which is where you would pay, a buyer would pay points or more money basically to get a slightly lower rate. So instead of getting a 6.5% rate, you might pay a little bit more money or a lot more money to get a 6% rate, right? And that cost savings would save you way more money over the life of the loan, which is why people do that. Now, what has been really, really popular over the last handful of years when rates have gone significantly up than they were a few years before that is a temporary buy down. So this can be, the most common is what is called a 2-1 buy down. There's also a 1-0 buy down. There's a 3-2-1 buy down. Basically what happens is the buyer negotiates for the seller to pay for a hefty fee to prepay a bunch of interest basically. And what ends up happening is a buyer, for example, in a 2-1 buy down, in their first year, their interest rate will be 2% less. In the second year, it'll be 1% less, and then it goes to the normal rate. So for example, let's say somebody was pre-approved and bought a house with a 7% rate, but they got a 2-1 buy down. So for the first year, instead of 7% minus 2, they would have a 5% rate. And then 12 months later, the rate would adjust to 6%. 12 months later, it would adjust again to 7%, back to that kind of full payment. Now, those are starting to come due, and a lot of buyers took advantage of this and saved tons of money off their mortgage payment over the last couple of years. Those buyers now have more equity. Rates are a little bit better than they were 2 years ago. So I think we're going to see a lot of people refinancing, which that whole conversation also leads to they might just sell because they have equity. And maybe they got into a house, again, for whatever reason they don't quite love. So this is something that's going to unlock a lot of inventory as well too. And if you're catching a common trend with these 4 major reasons, is that there is going to be more inventory coming to the market that has been just locked up that we haven't seen over the last couple of years. Now, on the flip side of that, reason number 4 that 25 might be a good year for you to move is that there's a lot of pent-up buyer demand. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that bought in 2020, 21, 22, 23, and even in 2024 this year, even though transactions were low this year. Overall, over the last handful of years, a lot of people did move. However, more people didn't move, meaning there was a lot of people that missed the boat in 2020, 21, 22, and just watched prices go up. And now they're getting back into the market and they're thinking, okay, I missed the last kind of run up on prices. Now I want to get back into the market. It's not quite as competitive. I can be a little bit more relaxed with my purchase. I don't have to give my firstborn and my right leg and my whatever just to get my offer accepted. In a more neutral market, I think there's a lot of people that are going to come off of the fence and get into the housing market. So those are the 4 things we just talked about. Let me summarize as well too. So number 1 is that homeowners are going to be able to sell and then buy, or buy and sell at the same time. If you want to know about a buy before you sell program, let me know. You know how to find us. Now, number 2 is that homeowners had really, really low interest rates that were locked in, and they might be opting to actually move out of those rates either because they're refinancing or because the payment difference isn't quite as much. Maybe they want to get at some of that equity accumulated. Now, reason number 3 is there are a lot of temporary buy downs that are going to come due, meaning their rate goes to the full term, and maybe they don't quite love that payment now as much as they did 2 years ago when they bought the home, especially if they're getting into problems, anything like that. Last but not least, there's a lot of pent-up buyer demand. I think there's going to be a wave of people that missed the previous 2020, 21, 22 market, There's going to be a lot of people that have been kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happens with prices. So overall, with the predictions for what's going to happen for appreciation being a pretty boring year of 5% price appreciation, remember, with a median home price of just a hair under $1.2 million, a 5% appreciation is $50,000, $60,000 in appreciation. So it's not just 5%. We have to kind of get back into reality that the 10, 20, 30% price appreciation we saw over the last couple of years was not normal. We're likely to see things go back to normal market. So the big question a lot of people ask is 2025 going to be a good time to make a move? It depends, obviously, on your unique situation. If you are buying a property, there's opportunities. If you're selling, there's opportunities. There are reasons to move, there's reasons not to move. So if you want to talk about your unique situation, I would recommend heading over to our website. And if you're thinking about buying, hitting either the search or the buy button, you go to onyxhomes.com. I'd highly recommend jumping on our newsletter if you're not already. We send an email out with the most important information every single week. Right on our homepage, onyxhomes.com, you can jump on that newsletter. Now, if you're thinking about buying, you can either click the buy button and book one of our buyer strategy sessions, free, no cost, no obligation, with one of our local experts who will be happy to help you go through the entire buying process. Now, you could also click the search button where you go look at all the different homes that are for sale in the market, look in your marketplace, and you can click it to schedule a tour, and one of our agents will be happy to help take you on tours. Now, the last thing you can do is if you're thinking about selling as well too, you could start the process of getting an idea of what your home's worth, and then we will give you a full custom market analysis. So you can click the sell button on our website. And I don't think I introduced myself in the beginning of the video. My name is Christian Stubbs. I'm an owner and team leader of Onyx Homes. Honestly, we just want to give you as much information as possible to make your next move hopefully a little bit easier. So if you want to check us out, go to onyxhomes.com. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.